Here we go.
Hello, welcome to YCFT. Today we are talking about Ghosts, the British TV show that ran from 2019 up until 2023, just last year. 5 seasons, 4 Christmas specials, and it's great. There is an American adaptation which is either going into its 3rd season or its third season has aired.
Yes.
It's one of those British shows similar to like the likes of The Office where they've seen it. It's like, oh my god, this could work. Let's try and do an American adaptation. And it seems to be doing quite well over there. Personally, I am not a fan.
We tried. We dabbled.
We'll get into that a little bit. But yeah, Ghosts, it was made by the Horrible Histories troupe. No one outside of Britain will know who these guys are.
Yeah, I know.
Horrible Histories is quite a famous brand back in the day. Just a way of teaching kids history. There's also, I used to get the magazines, and I remember they had a spin-off one called Horrible Science. It's just like a fun, cartoony way of getting...
Yeah, it was brilliant. It was like aimed at kids, but the humour in it was very much like for adults as well. So like all ages loved Horrible Histories.
Yeah.
It ran for a long time.
The Horrible Histories troupe are essentially our generation's PG version of the Carry On.
Yeah, they are the Carry On team from like 50s, 60s, 70s. Just like less debauched.
Yeah. So the show revolves around Alison and Mike, played by Charlotte Ritchie, and who's Mike?
Mike is played by Keel Smith Bino or Bino.
Start the show, they're trying to find a flat.
Yeah.
And anyone knows the British housing market, knows the struggles that they were in. And Alison finds out that she has inherited this massive manor house called Button House.
Yes.
Which was played by a real mansion that was in disarray.
Yes.
And as the show goes on, as they are doing up the manor, in real life the manor was the house was being done up as well. So I quite like that.
Nice little bit of symmetry there.
So they move into Button House.
They decide they're going to keep it. They're not going to sell it. Yeah. They're going to keep it.
At first, anyway.
At first, yeah.
The house is infested with ghosts that they can't see. And yes, Sam painted this.
Not for this video.
It's incredible. Not for this video, just because we love the show.
I did it a few years ago.
Gotta shout out how amazing this looks, how you got all of the characters. Horrible Histories troupe actually play most of the ghosts, don't
they? Do.
Do you want to point them out?
We'll go through. Okay. So, here at the bottom we've got Robin. He's the eldest ghost. He goes back to 10,000 BCE. He died on the land. There was no house at the time when he died. And he is played by Lawrence Rickard. And Lawrence also plays Humphrey.
The rest of them's over here.
The rest of him is down there. So Humphrey is a Tudor nobleman who was accidentally decapitated. Then we've also got over here, we've got Simon Farnaby, who plays Julian. He is a Conservative MP. He died with his trousers down.
Is it ever outwardly said that he's Conservative? But I feel like it's pretty obvious.
It's very, very obvious.
Yeah.
So we've got Julian over there, Simon Farnaby. Simon Farnaby is riding high at the minute, actually, because he, I think he co-wrote the new Wonka movie.
Yeah,
when he was involved in the Paddington movies too. So he's
also in The Detectorists.
Oh, he is also in The Detectorist. Yes, yeah. Love him. We've got Matthew Bainton here. He plays Thomas. Thomas is a Regency kind of dandy poet. He is shot in a duel, hence the little bullet hole. Down at the bottom, we've got Fanny. Lady Fanny Button, who's played by Martha Howe Douglas. And then we've got Jim Howick up here. He plays Pat. He's kind of like a scout leader. Yeah. And then we've got the captain, who's played by Ben Wilbond, who is brilliant. So they're like the Horrible Histories comedy troupe. These are the creators of the show, and they play some of the ghosts.
They also play, because there's plague ghosts in the basement, and a lot of them play
we do have the plague ghosts. So over here we've got Mary, played by Katie Wicks. Katie was not part of the troupe, she was just cast in the role of Mary. And then we've also got Kitty, who was played by Lolly Adafope. Again, not part of the troupe, just cast as in the role. So these are our ghosts.
These are the ghosts that... There's also a ghost pigeon that appears in season 1, but we'll never come back into it.
And also Kitty, sorry I didn't mention that she's a Georgian noblewoman.
From the offset, it's obvious how everyone's died. So we know Pat had to die by an arrow. We know Thomas had to die from being shot. Mary was accused of being a witch and was burnt alive. Robin was struck by lightning. Humphrey obviously decapitated. Julian, it's a sex scandal.
It is a sex scandal.
It is a sex scandal.
He died
a couple of them are a bit more mysterious. So Fanny, or Stephanie,
Stephanie
we know
Gossip
that she fell
Fanny.
out of a window, and it's not obvious. If we find out kind of in the first 2 episodes what happens to her, but Kitty, it's a bit of a mystery.
It is a little bit of a mystery.
For a while. The biggest mystery is the captain.
Yes.
You don't... It's... Oh, actually called out on the show quite late on that no one actually knows what his name is.
He's
It's
just
called
captain.
the captain. And you won't find out until the final season how he died.
Yeah, that was quite sad.
Oh, it's tragic. And that's kind of the format of the show. Like, we're not going through the ghost stories every episode. Like, there'll be some sort of like thing that'll happen, something like ridiculous that the ghosts make worse. But every few episodes, we'll find out a ghost backstory. And sometimes there are other ghosts that come in, or because Robin has been there for so long.
Yes.
He actually has seen a lot of ghosts come and go, and when they get sucked off.
Sucked off.
And they ascend.
Disappear into
That's
the
how Mary
ether.
calls it, being sucked
Sucked
off. I think that was a prank that Julian made. Not obviously Mary's not going to realise.
Yeah, exactly.
What I mean, so Robin's been there for a very long time and has seen a lot of friends come and go. That usually makes him feel a little bit disconnected from the rest, but just he has been there for so
10,000 years.
long.
He's been roaming that land.
And he doesn't know why.
And
a lot of them don't know why they're there.
This is the thing. It's like there are some rules that are established within the show, but there's also a lot of unknowns. So, for instance, obviously all the ghosts, they stay where they died. They also stay how they died. So when Pat, if he ever tried to remove the arrow from his neck, it automatically goes right in.
Safety rule number 1 is no.
Fanny is kind of doomed to relive falling out of the window every night.
Yeah, they get around that because they even try moving her bedroom.
Yeah.
They get around that by changing the clock outside of their bedroom so that she falls in the morning rather than the middle of the night.
Exactly. Julian is just doomed to wander around Button House with his trousers perpetually down. So they all stay how they died, which is kind of, typical in like usual ghost lore. They can't touch anything, but there are a few exceptions. They can, however, sleep. They miss food, they miss drinking. Kitty at one point vomits and they don't understand how that happens. They can also walk through walls, but they don't sink through floors and they don't sink through beds, and they can sit down. And it's actually, I think it's called out in the show at some point.
Yeah,
like, I think it's Thomas that's like, it doesn't make sense, does it really?
They don't like it when people walk through them, that kind of makes them feel a bit sick.
Yeah.
And a couple of them have unique abilities. So Mary, whenever you mention...
The witch.
Whenever you mention that she was burned, she's like, I don't want to talk about it. And she smokes a little bit.
Yeah.
And she can kind of make herself smoke.
Yeah.
There is a plague girl that sings, like, Ring Around the Roses?
Ring Around the Roses,
That her is that people can hear it, and it's quite...
eerie.
Creepy.
Yeah.
They all fall down. People find it scary, apparently.
Can't think why.
Julian can move things, but it takes a lot of energy. You can only do it with a finger.
Yeah.
You found out in this book, the companion book,
Yeah, wonderful.
that he learned this ability through practice, and was trying to turn. He spent months trying to turn to page 3, or was it years?
It was 7 years trying to turn to page 3 in the sun, but it was sheer perseverance.
Robin can affect lights, electricity, because he was struck by lightning.
So, not all of them, but a few of them have certain abilities. But I guess the most important thing is they are all stuck in this house.
Yeah, all different periods, so they all have like very clashing personalities.
Yes. And the very first episode is when, before Alison and Mike even move in, the ghosts are just trying to bide time. They have nothing else to do. They are stuck in this house. They are stuck with each other for eternity. And it's it's like a very British thing where they have like meeting points throughout the day and they assign like group activities. So they all take it in turns to like do a little show and tell for each other. And you can tell like they're repeating the same thing time and time again because they've ran out of things to do. They've ran out of things to talk about. They are bored. With
the previous occupant, the last Button of Button House.
Yes.
Passing away, and they're like, they might get someone new. And a ghost comes out and says, where are the ghosts? We like to welcome you. Oh, she's gone. And she's just ascended.
Oh, she's gone.
Alison is a distant relative.
Very distant.
Very distant. That's how she comes about owning the house.
The house is now
Alison's.
Alison's.
About maybe selling it to be a hotel because of the sheer amount of work that's going to...
Yeah.
And the ghosts want to get rid of her.
Well, there's only 2 of them. Still plenty of room for us.
This is going to make one incredible hotel.
What is hotel?
Initially, they kind of like the idea of having Alison and Mike around. It's new company. They realise, oh, well, there is stuff that needs doing in the house, like the pipes have burst and that needs fixing.
The
boiler. Maybe it'll be good having them. And then as soon as they hear the word hotel, they do not like that.
No, because they've all got their routines. They've got their rooms.
Yeah.
And they like other people, but they don't want people.
They don't want to be overrun. Yeah.
Yeah. So they try and haunt her. So, and it's quite funny, because obviously they can't see, like Alice and Mike, they can't see them.
No.
And first it's like, right, Mary, you're gonna smoke. Robin, do the light thing.
Yeah.
Julian, push that over, and it's a whole operation.
Yeah.
Go for Robin. Man down. Push it.
It just does not.
It does
work.
absolutely nothing.
Nothing at all. And
Yeah.
I love that. So the twist, like I'd say the first 2 episodes are the most different
To the rest
to
of the
the
show.
rest of the show. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's a setup, and it does set it up as your typical haunted house.
Yeah.
Julian pushes Alison out of the window.
Yeah.
Fanny's early.
I'm right here.
What?
She whacks
She
her
goes
head.
into a coma.
Yeah.
She was actually technically dead for a while.
Yes.
When she gets back, she's in a cast, and she can see the ghost, and
She
they're
can
just
see
as
them.
shocked as she is.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
they've never had another person a living person be able to see them before.
Exactly.
So now they're like, all right, we can hold her. We can actually tell her to leave.
Get out, get out, get out, get
Yeah,
out, get
Mary's
out,
keeps
get
saying
out, get
that.
out.
Robin is just hiding in all the dark corners, trying to scare her.
Yeah.
Thomas has absolutely fallen in love. That's a theme of Thomas. He's just loved people through history.
He loves her at first sight. He adores her.
He's trying to get her to kill herself and join them. And slowly over time, I think they kind of realise the advantages of having someone alive
Yes.
around, and so she decides to go to the hospital. My all-time. We're not going to go through episode by episode.
No. Too
Maybe
much.
that could be a future bit. We could
Too
maybe
much.
do it if this does well. We might
Yeah.
do a video on our favourite episode, maybe even on the American adaptation.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
And it's one of my favourite moments when she goes to the doctor. So it's like, I'm seeing these things. They think it could be a result of the knocking her head.
Yeah.
And it, in theory, should go away. And the doctor says, "Well, can you see me?" She's been talking to this doctor for a while. So, what do you mean? He's like, "Well, I'm dead."
Can you see me? Yes, exactly. I'm dead.
So sorry to have kept you.
Oh, she's very good.
Yeah.
And that's when she realises it clocks. Why would she be seeing ghosts? Shouldn't she be seeing the same? If she was making them up, shouldn't she see the same people
Yeah,
everywhere?
exactly.
That's when she realises the ghosts are real.
They are real. They're not in her head. They're not a result of the
But
concussion.
then you've got to convince Mike,
Yeah.
who's been tweaking the boiler. And at one point, like, all the plague victims are shouting at her because he's done it wrong. And she's like, "Red lever." And she uses the plague ghost to convince Mike that the ghosts are real because they've been down there for so long that they know this boiler inside out.
Yeah, it's just how they
Mike is he's the least handy guy, but he tries.
He tries. Yeah, bless him. He tries.
And
He tries.
I love it when she lines up like, "What do you all want?"
Yeah, she confronts them finally because they're all, oh god, they're just all trying to get her attention. They're trying to get her to leave. Like, they're all just irate. And she finally confronts them. I think this is at the end of episode 2.
Yeah.
Is it? And basically, they're like, right, well, we want you to go, essentially. And they can't because Mike, when she was in the coma, Mike took out this huge mortgage, so they are stuck in the house. So they're all stuck together.
Yeah.
So they all compromise.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
We'd like to shout out our groovy members. We appreciate everything you do for this channel and helping us grow. You guys are awesome.
And they all have their own sort of unique demands.
Yeah.
Because they're all starting to see the advantages slowly but surely of having Mike
onto the and there's
and
like a
Alison
war
around.
show on, and the captain's like,
tanks.
so he's like, "I want an hour a day with the box,
Yeah.
with the tanks."
Yeah. Maybe is it helpful to maybe just like light touch on all of their personalities because they are all so different from each other. So obviously Julian there
I love it is whenever he does like a speech, he does this.
Well, yeah, it's like the classic, MP sort of thing, like the, or like the language. He's brilliant, hoity-toity, had cheated on his wife, not a good father. We learn in life, and obviously died in a sex scandal in Button House. We've got Kitty, who is probably the loveliest of all the ghosts, like the most innocent and the most naive, very childlike, adores Alison, just wants to be her best friend and constantly follows her around. Alison introduces her to the Spice Girls and S Club 7, and yeah, she's just like a girly girl, essentially. We've got Pat, who is one of the most recent ghosts, and he's also just incredibly likeable. He's probably the most friendliest.
Pat's great.
Died in an archery accident gone wrong on one of his scout trips. But really, really lovely guy, heart of gold. Humphrey just spends half the time walking around trying to find his
It's
head.
like his head and his body are two different entities.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Often his head is found separate from his body, and his
Yeah.
body's just wandering. Humphrey, I think you see the least out of all the ghosts, probably because he plays Robin as well.
Yeah, exactly. And then we've got Mary, who was, as we said, she was burnt as a witch. She was obviously not a witch, as innocent as the day is long, and also, you know, she was an uneducated woman in the 17th century, and so her language is very she talks in plurals a lot, doesn't she? You know, like I says is this very, very innocent. Robin obviously been around the longest, very intelligent but also very inarticulate at the same time.
But we find out in later episodes he's fluent in French.
Yeah, he is, and he's also an excellent chess player.
He's an excellent chess player.
As well.
Not in the first episode. I feel that comes later on, but obviously you can only play with Julian.
Yeah.
Because Julian's the only one that can move the pieces.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen anything like this before?
One time, yes, but it was a bear. Oh, the bear was like, "Ah," and I'm like, ah, and then he's like, "Oh, okay." And I'm like, whoa, and the bear's like, hey, was he normally?
We've got Captain, who is, you know, very stern, very, you know, order. So he kind of takes like the surrogate role of leader, I think, for all of the ghosts. He's also a closeted homosexual, which is evidently clear to everybody but the captain.
It's one of like, the worst kept secrets in the show.
Yeah, exactly.
What makes it interesting is the time period that he's from. The way he says certain things, like about his time in the army, and it's like, how do you not know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's
like he was
wonderful.
denying it right up until he died, and that's possibly the reason why he's still there.
Yes. We've got Thomas, who, like we've said, is just kind of a lovesick puppy. It's inferred in life that he had this lifetime kind of feud with Byron and Keats and you know, like all these famous poets, but where of course they achieved fame and notoriety, and their legacy is obviously still really strong. Thomas Thorne's legacy just kind of descended into the shadows. No one knows who Thomas Thorne is. He was a failed poet, essentially, who was madly in love with the idea of being in love, and falls head over heels in love with Alison, and that remains strong throughout the entirety of the show. And then we've got Lady Fanny Button,
who is her and Alison are actually related.
Yeah, distantly, but they are actually they are related. And
she sees the house as her house.
Yes, and she's an Edwardian lady of the manor, essentially. So also very kind of, you know, uppity and walks around like with a sourpuss sort of face.
Oh, it's the thing she does with her neck. I can't do it.
Yeah, she's wonderful. She is absolutely wonderful. And
judges Alison a lot on the way modern women are, and
totally,
the way they clash. It's hilarious.
It's fantastic, and that's kind of the crux of the show. It's old and new coming together. I mean, the most recent ghost is Julian, because he died in 93, so he's the most recent addition. But obviously we go back to 10,000 years, so you've got all these different eras, all these different societal expectations, all these different worldviews just coexisting,
almost to live together, and then you've got this modern day couple,
very like working class couple, who are confronted with these ideals of the past that the ghosts have retained, and it's just comedy gold.
I think what makes the show work for the British public is Alison and Mike are a typical, like you said, typical work class British couple.
Yeah,
they have money troubles. They aren't particularly handy. Mike uses YouTube to learn a lot of things.
Yeah,
but they also have to work really hard for little results, and I think a lot of British people can relate to something within that relationship, and can I just quickly throw it off to the American version.
Yeah,
it's something that I could not get with the new one. Is I couldn't get along with a couple.
Yeah,
the acting's fine. They were too sweet.
And
it's not that like Mike and Alison are a sweet couple, but they feel like a very real couple for us.
Relatable.
In America, I'm sure they are real for them, and
I know exactly what you mean.
I'm not articulating it very well, but
Mike and Alison, when they interact together, I can buy that this is a married couple. I can't remember their names in the American one, but yeah, it's like a little bit too sickly sweet and almost like this is a sitcom. Don't get me wrong, but the way that the American ones interact feels like it's like I don't know, like yeah.
I think the biggest thing is everyone knows English comedy is very different to American comedy.
It's very deadpan, isn't it? And it's very kind of dry and it's very droll.
Sarcasm. And that doesn't translate well, so a lot of time they don't translate it, they just change it.
Yeah.
And that leads to the ghosts of the American one. That show is at its best. From what I've watched, I think I've watched like a third of the first season, because again, British shows usually like 5 or 6 episodes a season. American shows, anything from 16 up to like 22 episodes a season. So like, one season of the American show is almost the entirety of ghosts in the UK. So I like to think we go for quality over quantity.
Yeah, yeah.
And the American show is at its best when it has its own unique ghosts.
Yeah, sure.
To the American time period. And I like how they have a Native American, naturally.
Yeah, of course.
And it's played by a Native American. My issue with it is he has a very modern day accent. I think he's quite well known. I think he's a comedian. That was my main issue there. It's like, oh, maybe could have done a bit of an accent. Instead of a politician, they've got a stockbroker. I'm like, all right, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, like a
Viking,
Wall Street guy.
Bit of a push.
In America, yeah, that surprised me.
I know there is evidence of Vikings landing, but it's a bit of a... I think...
yeah.
I don't mean to offend the American audience here, but we do have... We've been around longer. We have a much longer history than you guys do. So I think that gives us more variety in the type of ghosts that we can have.
I think...
And it's hard... Maybe if I'd watched the American one first, but when you have, like... They have the scout leader, because they have scouts over there as well.
Yeah,
I'm only going to compare them to Pat. That's my struggle with it. I'm constantly comparing it, especially in very typical American adaptation of British shows. The first episode is almost beat for beat the same. I'm used to that because that's usually how it goes.
Yeah, sure.
And I don't want to shit on the American show too much. I do want to go back to it, but I have such an attachment to this one. The Troop, they did give a lot of ideas for the American one.
They did. They
are producers on it.
Exact producers.
They gave them the stories that they either couldn't fit in to this one or were too expensive
to
do. So there's a few things in the description that I'm curious about what the American one's going to do.
Yeah, I know when from doing research into the British one, when they had a lot of fun coming up with all the ghosts, and there were a lot of them that had to be exercised from the script.
Yeah.
And I know that they were toying with the idea of having ghosts from the 60s, like a group of hippies or like a famous band or something that died in a plane crash in the 60s and like their part of the house. And I think the hippie one got translated, which makes a lot of sense. Obviously, you know, the 60s America,
the
Woodstock
Viking ones,
and everything.
obviously Vikings were prevalent all of it. I think that was also cutting room floor.
I think the thing that we're finding it really hard to articulate and what the core difference is between our one and the American one is just the Britishness of it. And it sounds like such a silly thing, but at its core, I think that is why our one is so successful. Is like all of these ghosts, they are even in, you know, different eras, they are just so profoundly like
What's like when you watch
British.
When you watch something like 40 Towers?
Yeah,
we like Basil Fawlty because he's very la-di-da, he's very stuck up, insanely old school British.
Yeah.
A lot of these ghosts are that way. Like Fanny, the Captain, Thomas, they are very stuck up,
very uppity, stuck up Britishness.
And you've got this very modern day couple
stiff upper lip.
Don't adhere to all.
No, they don't. They can't relate to that at all. Exactly.
So it's like seeing most of British history.
But
what I really like is because is Humphrey from the Tudor period.
Yeah.
Obviously, every British child who obviously been to school, we've had the Tudors shoved down our throats. For a while, you'd think that the Tudors were the only era of history.
Yeah, exactly.
that we've had. So it makes sense that you have someone from the Tudor period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I love as well is they all have unique voices, and I mean that in a literal sense. They all have there's a lot of regional accents that exist within this house as well.
There was a whole episode between Julian and Pat about the North-South divide.
The North-South divide, which is a huge thing in the UK.
It's such a huge thing in the UK.
But then, this guy here, Robin, what I also love, and it comes up a lot in the show, is, yes, I know we're talking about the Britishness and how it's runs such a big thing with all these characters and the themes. But then you've got Robin, who's like, what are you guys even talking about? Like, people are people. You know, like, I was here when England, Britain, like that, it wasn't a thing. He's like, it's just land. It's just land, and it is what you make it, you know? So they do point that out at one point in the show, which I do really like.
Robin's one of my favourite character of the show. I think he has some of the most interesting moments.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. It's like, yes, this is a comedy show, but you can probably kind of glean from the ghosts' backstories that there's a lot of sadness that's attached to it too.
Also,
And
none of them have died of natural causes.
no. And this is the thing. It's like any of them can be sucked off at random moments. There doesn't really seem to be any rhyme or reason. Like, they've all died unexpectedly.
Well, not say who, but at one point, one of the cast.
Oh, we lose one.
We lose one because one of the cast members was starting to get a lot of work and just couldn't fit it into their schedule. So one of them does leave. One of them does get sucked off, and we'll not reveal who, because I think it comes completely out of nowhere, and it fits the show so well.
It does fit the show well, but again, like, there's no rhyme or reason. All the remaining ghosts are like, well, why that person and why then? You know, so it's not necessarily that they all have unfinished business, because there are a lot of moments in the show where you think, if ever there was a moment they could disappear, surely it would be now. But we go through like a lot of really important things. Like, you know, there's a scene where Pat, he sees his wife and his grandson. They come to the house to pay their respects because it's his death day. It's their anniversary, and he gets to see his grandson. He obviously can't interact, but he gets to see his grandson.
He gets to talk through Alison.
Yeah.
To them.
Yeah.
And it's such an emotional. That's like the first season as well, isn't it?
And like Julian, you know, again, we've established he wasn't a great husband, he wasn't a great father. But with the internet, Alison gives him the laptop, and he can see how his daughter is now. He can see she's grown up into. Also, it has become an MP, and he's proud.
His legacy is not what he thought it was.
No,
he
exactly.
thought he'd be remembered for his political achievements, but no, he's remembered for the sex scandal.
And it's like, you know, there's a lot of jokes with the captain and, like, you know, like that closeted homosexuality and everything, but it's actually really fucking tragic.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, he lived in a time where he wasn't able to express himself, and that is something that is a big thing in the show.
Himself right up until his death.
Yeah. And Fanny, you know, as uppity and as stuck up and apparently as unfriendly as she is, we actually realise that, again, she was a very clever woman, and she was completely restricted to the time that she lived in, and she couldn't fulfil all the ambitions that she has.
To be a real woman, be very proper, be a wife, and is ultimately killed by her husband.
Yeah, she had to marry a man that she had absolutely no feelings for whatsoever, who ended up killing her.
After she walked in with one of the housekeepers and the butler.
Yeah,
I caught him, Pon, the groundskeeper.
Good Lord.
With the butler on him. Like a sandwich. A manwich.
Actually known as a Moroccan tea party.
Guys!
Mary is so traumatized by being burnt to death, she can't talk about it.
Yeah.
She literally cannot talk about it. And, you know, she's the sweetest thing. All she did in life was count potatoes and milk cows, and she had a happy little life, and she got burned to death. Yeah. So there's sadness and there's pathos.
Yeah, in amongst all of these, there's mostly very, very upbeat show. A lot of stories do revolve around, like, Alice and Mike trying to navigate being a modern day married couple with this project that is far too big for them to deal with. Alison deal with being the only one that can see these ghosts.
Yes.
And I think a lot of funnier moments come from when Mike obviously can't see them.
Yeah.
And one of the best episodes is when he is in the house on his own and it's getting robbed and he thinks it's a ghost in his house. He starts speaking out to the ghost like, look, just want to sit in bed, eat my trifle, and watch my shows.
Yeah, that's all he wants.
He doesn't even know if the ghosts are in the bedroom or not.
He just buys like a huge trifle and then just gets a spoon and starts digging in. It's like an excellent night in that.
I think one of my favourite moments is also in the first episode when she does confront about what do you all want? Thomas said, I want you to kill yourself and be with me. No. Obviously the captain. I want to know what the TV looks. Fine, Robin. What do you want? Nothing. So you've been hiding in every dark corner for nothing, scaring the life out of me for nothing. And Mary's like, I want you to
renounce Satan, witch.
Okay, no problem.
That'll do it.
Pat says, and you, what do you want? Does she call him Robin Hood?
Oh, I can't remember.
And he's like, I just want to say hello. Hello! Oh, hello!
Oh, hello! Yeah, he's a lovely Yorkshireman. Oh, she calls Robin Budget Tarzan.
Budget Tarzan.
Yeah.
One thing I found when I was watching it because there are some episodes like around like maybe an exorcism, dark spirits. I was like, oh, maybe this is going to come back into the little. There's no overarching story.
No.
It's episode, which makes it very easy to watch. I just have to get myself into the mindset of I need to stop trying to work out where this is going to lead later on. Because it's not that type of show.
Every single episode is just, different shenanigans that happen in the house. And occasionally it will lead us into exploring the backstories of some of the ghosts. But the writers did a really stellar job of, leaving us breadcrumbs and not feeding all of that information to us in the first series. It's peppered throughout the show.
Yeah. And not all of it made it in. That's why they brought out this book.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It goes into more detail.
Yeah.
This is meant to be a book that Alison's put together of different scraps of paper, journals, internet findings on the various characters. And you find out that's how we find out the page 3 thing. It's in this.
Exactly.
It's in this book.
I love it as well because I guess looking very deeply into it, it's like these people, with the exception of maybe Julian, all of these lives have just kind of been lost to time. There's no documentation really for Mary or anything like that, and their legacy is their spirits that live on in this house. So it's really sweet that Alison kind of, she tries wherever she can to
little things like she has books out for them on music paper stands and turns pages for them.
Yeah, well, she's giving them life again in the only way that she can. She lets them listen to music. She lets them watch TV. They all become obsessed with Friends. It's like she's injected a little bit of vitality back into the house.
One of my favourite ones, and it's on. I think the fact that it's always a big deal when a British show gets a Christmas special.
Yeah,
and from the second season, this had a Christmas special, and it's a big time slot. And I do think it took the place when Doctor Who, for some reason, stopped doing Christmas specials.
Yeah,
and did New Year ones. So this year I got Doctor Who and the final episode of Ghosts. That was it. We knew the last season was coming last year. They revealed it just after the final episode aired that there was going to be one more episode at Christmas.
Yeah.
And there'd been murmurs that it was going to happen, but that was really good. So I got Doctor Who and Ghosts on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
The simple ones, they decided to put on a show for Alison because she's feeling a bit down and a little bit stressed. So they put on a bit of a musical number. But then it always obviously, Mike sat there and can't see it, but she's just blown away by the fact that they've managed to actually do this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they're family.
Yeah. And they do clash. They clash a lot.
It's family.
Because they are.
Yeah.
They are family.
Yeah. She comes to care for them very, very, very deeply. And it's such a lovely show. The only reason it ended is not because ratings fell.
If anything, it was more popular than ever.
It was. There was such a huge demand for it. There was a collective sadness across England, I think, when it announced that it was going to be the final series. Yeah. But the only reason they ended it is because they thought, well, we want to go out on a high. He's like, we're really happy. We've exceeded expectations. We had 5 seasons. We probably thought we'd get 2 at most. We're happy with where everything is. It's time to end it.
Yeah.
So the writers ended it on their own terms, which is lovely.
Yeah. If we keep doing, they said it would be very easy just to keep doing this show because it's so fun to do.
It's the best show in the world, yeah.
But they're supposed to be locked in a moment in time, and I think because we went back and started watching the first season again, lead up to this, you can tell that they have aged a little bit, and even in the few years that it's been running, they knew it was going to start getting too obvious that the ghosts were getting older, and it would break the immersion. They have said that they'd considered doing a movie.
Please.
The thing is, you could easily, in a few years' time, they could even reboot the show with a completely different cast of ghosts, a different house.
Yeah,
they could still write on it.
Yeah,
all the ghosts that there's probably loads that didn't even make the American cut that they could use.
Probably, yeah. Also, I know we're calling them the Horrible Histories Troupe. They don't really have an official name, but
I think it's not just a name that's been given to them.
Yeah, the troupe. This was their very first post-Watershed comedy.
Yeah.
Very first one, and it was obviously a huge,
even
huge
post-Watershed, it's still pretty clean. I think
yeah, I mean, there's damn it, Fanny. Fanny's exposed. Fanny means something quite different in the UK than it does in the States.
Oh yeah, I think it means bum over there, doesn't it? It doesn't mean that over here.
Doesn't mean that over here. So yeah, there is double entendre, but it's not as I say, it's not as lecherous or as debauched as the Carry On series. But there's definitely innuendo.
Kids
there.
can watch this and I think get
and
be fine
of course, yeah, exactly.
They're just gonna laugh at the ghost side, the ghosts doing ghost things, and then they've got things for the adults like the the funny jokes.
The
and
funny
whatnot.
jokes and yeah, exactly. Also, I just think this is one of the most rewatchable shows.
Yeah.
I think I've seen series 1 and 2 maybe about 3 times now in total.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to watch it
I think
all
what helps,
again.
because it's so episodic. And there's a couple of themes that run throughout, but like I said, there's no overarching story. So you can't. And the other day, I was just flicking through episodes.
Yeah.
And putting on
Random ones.
the random ones, and I'm like, all right, I know what's going on.
Yeah.
This is great.
It's brilliant.
Love it.
Yeah, there's a lot of creativity. Considering the premise is so simple, it's it's a young couple living in a house full of ghosts. Every single episode does offer something a little bit different.
Also, it's a fairly low budget show.
Yeah.
And
It's contained to the house.
like Humphrey is, the guy's head is actually here. They've built him up, so he's
Yeah.
actually, Humphrey is a very tall man because of it. Probably the most expensive effect is Humphrey's head, and they're keying him out.
Yeah.
But they won't walk through the walls that often. Whenever they can, they try and save the budget to do something
Yeah.
bigger. But it's the BBC. The BBC is not known for insanely high budget, high concept shows.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
for the type of show it is, it doesn't need to be expensive and complicated.
It doesn't.
It's
No.
like, you look at shows like Red Dwarf. Something that's kind of beloved about that is the cheapness of it.
It is the
and that's something
cheapness.
that's carried on into modern day.
Yeah.
And it's something about BBC shows in general is I kind of like that element of cheapness.
Yeah, and I think again, like our writers here, the troupe, they knew that. They knew that going in. So like with every new series, they knew that they didn't need to up the ante. They just needed to deliver on the same thing. Just like with other like unique storylines.
Hit you in the emotions
Yeah, exactly.
instead of being showy.
But and it was just it's perfect. I think it is considered a perfect show.
Yeah.
Like
I think a couple of seasons are rated 100%.
yeah. The
And I think
the final Christmas special, 5 stars all round.
I think a lot of people preferred the ending of like the last season as opposed to the ending of
The Christmas special.
So there's 2 different endings essentially that you can almost pick from.
Yeah.
Do you have any more notes on this one?
No, I don't. I just adore the show. I recommend it. It is perfect.
This is one you introduced me to this one.
Yeah.
Usually,
Yeah.
I've got a pretty good track record of introducing you to things.
Yeah.
This is one of the things that you claim this victory if you introduce me to ghosts.
Every now and then I throw like a banger your way, a
absolute banger.
certified banger. Yeah, and this was a huge success.
I remember I looked into the American one because we are behind on the American one. I think
Yeah.
we've only just not long got season 2.
I think we got like 5-6 episodes in, didn't we, or something?
Yeah, but that's why we were feeling, because I binged seasons 1 and 2 when they first came out, and I was feeling like I needed more while I was waiting for season 3, so
Yeah.
I tried the American one.
Yeah.
And it's not to say I did get some enjoyment out of it, and I think if I'd watched it first, I probably would really, really like it.
Some storylines did genuinely look interesting.
Yeah, give it a couple of months, and I'll probably be feeling like I miss Ghosts, and I might jump into it again. So yeah, if you're interested in this sort of thing, we could break it into a couple of specific.
Yeah. Well, this
episodes.
was just going to be sort of like a one-off. I mean, we held off doing a video on Ghosts until the final episode aired, and we just wanted to like shout about it really.
Yeah.
But I would be very happy to take a further deep dive into the show and do episode by episode, or just like analyze it a little bit more in depth.
Yeah,
so.
we could do one on the particular stories. We could in depth go. Now that we have the
Got the
resources,
companion.
We could do an episode per ghost and go in deep into their story.
Yeah.
Something different to what we would usually do, but yeah. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for joining us on this while we just
just
showed our love for this
Yep.
little BBC
this
show that
tiny
could.
little show. Yeah.
And we will see you next week.
Bye.